Hello everybody, back on the desk ahead of DFM versus AXIZ. However, we have another interview coming through, this time with NT from Sengoku Gaming, and of the statements that have been translated for us, my favorite one is the bottom one. They didn't know they would win until the end. That's kind of that is actually maybe a flicker of hope for the Hawks fans, that they keep putting up good fights and they just can't close them out.
I mean, if again, we're talking about one of the second strongest teams here, are looking at a team and they're in that game and they're like, we have no idea if we're going to win, and we are probably the second strongest in the region. That says something, A, about you, about the respect you have for your opponents, and B, says a lot about the people you're trying to put down.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, there's 2 points I draw from that particular statement. One is that Marble looked really good on this area. I'm pretty sure Marble is a very large chunk of why they weren't sure they could win till the very end, because the Zeri was skilling up and Marble was navigating those fights really well. And the second point that, that kind of makes me think of is the fact that I didn't think that they were going to lose at that Elder Dragon. I thought winning that Elder Dragon would win them everything. Sengoku looked so controlled as well. I could not tell that they were nervous whatsoever. The only part I thought they might throw a little bit was during the siege situations where they couldn't find the flanks, but anywhere in open ground, they just looked so good.
Absolutely. Moving on from that then, let us get to our match of the week and the final game of the day, DetonatioN's FocusMe versus AXIZ. And RMC, coming to you first, I want to spend as little time on DFM as possible because they are looking nigh unstoppable right now. And in like 100 words or less, what's the single biggest reason for their just like complete domination in your opinion?
They're just good in every role, every single position.
Just good.
They've got top three. Yeah, it literally is just that. They just have some of the best players in every role. So nobody can quite match them individually. Sengoku came close, but even then, DetonatioN FocusMe, they just know their macro is better. Maybe it's the experience from MSI, from Worlds, but macro good, micro good, DFM good.
Beautiful
I honestly haven't got a way to disagree with that one. I'm trying to find a way to pick a hole in that, but yeah, you're not wrong. Even with the change to DFM's lineup, like losing Arya, hasn't really seemed to slow them down at all. But I want to talk about AXIZ a little bit here, because this was a team I fell in love with. They weren't my favorite team last split, but I fell in love with this team last split because they were just like the scrappy underdog. It is truly the underdog story, and especially coming into this season, that man we see on our screen, Yellow Yoshi, is also part of the reason you have to not only love them, you have to fear them. Because a team that is willing to just say screw convention and bring out whatever the hell they think might work is a team that you could win draft against them and still just fall apart completely. Because this is the guy that will decide, you know what, Smite top lane, let's do it. Let's bring out the Poppy, let's bring out the Bard.
This might actually be the angle where, as you're saying, AXIZ, we have to see, can DFM, they can play standard really well. Can they? I was going to say rise. Saying rise to the level of AXIZ doesn't ring true to me. I feel like in a game where AXIZ level cheese happens, it's the lowest common denominator. So can DFM drop to the level to the same sort of level of cheese and match that?
I mean, we call it cheese, but let's be fair. That is a global meta, which no one else in the LJL is really quite abusing. I refuse to acknowledge Rayfarky tried along with Flawless there. We don't talk about that.
Yellow Yoshi seems to be the only one who's made it work.
True. Yes. That statement, 100% true. And you're right. If you can't beat DetonatioN FocusMe at their game, don't play their game. If you can't beat them at chess, go play checkers instead. And I think that is why this is match of the week, because AXIZ is the one team that actually has the best shot at beating DFM by pulling out the weirdest things possible. And that's what I want to see. AXIZ has looked best when they play 2 Sangchu with roaming supports from that top lane. Or even the Malphite game looked good too, because they are still playing to Sangchu. And I want to see AXIZ double down on that. Just pick everything that's going to cap that bot lane. Forget Evi, forget Steel, forget Yaharong. Let them do their own thing. Just shut Utapon down as hard as you possibly can. Make it a 3v3 game if you have to. Just take out Utapon and up if you have to sack Yellow Yoshi and Swamp to make it happen.
Shut down Utapon. That is the cry to action. We shall see how it pans out. We are into Champion Select. So for the final time today, guys, take it away.
All right, well, let's dive right in and see, well, what is going to be the weapon of choice for AXIZ? Well, the first thing they're going to axe off the table is the Zeri, which I do quite like. Utapon, if he can't be mobile, he can be killed. We saw it's very difficult to kill a Zeri if she's in the right positioning. And I wonder, what are you going to look for? I was going to say the Aphelios is rather popular here, but I love the Karma as well. And the fact that DFM have immediately said, we're not going to go for the Jinx or the Aphelios or any of these high picks that we see so often. Grab the Poppy, so we can put it to Ebby, we can put it to Steel, we can flex it as needed.
Oh, this is 100% a Steel pick. Steel has been spamming this Poppy here, and this series, among all others, Poppy is single highest priority champion because both Yellow Yoshi, one-trick Poppy in solo queue, and, you know, Steel, one-trick Poppy in competitive here. Obviously, they're going to fight over it, but AXIZ is used to not having it because it gets banned against them a lot. We played a Sangshu, and I think they've done just that. They picked the Jinx, they picked the Lulu. This is your hyper carry with Enchanter combo here. There really isn't anything, I don't think any other AD carry right now, which can match this Jinx Lulu combo come late game.
Well, DFM are going to try, and I think they might just pull off, the Aphelio stretch, the classic lane strength pull here. I like this as a solution because you'd hope, if anyone, oh no, please don't make this top lane Lulu.
Do it.
Because if they do that, that is genius, and I love it, and AXIZ, you terrify me. But it fits exactly into the way AXIZ is going to play. It's going to be a straight up, if this is locked in, a straight up protect Sangshu at all costs, get down Mr. President composition.
Okay, they got the Kindred for now. You know what? I was going to say, like, the Lulu, don't even send it Lulu top. Send it Lulu mid and pick yet another support top. The more the merrier. Triple support, triple Enchanter meta. Instead, Kindred, most likely for Swamp here in the jungle. It still is part of that all-in for the Sangshu composition, right? What you're going to be doing with this Kindred here is you're going to put down that Lamb's Respite, buy time for Jinx to free fire, but I don't really like seeing Kindred picked early because there's lots of answers on the table. Probably not from the jungle since we see the Poppy pick up here, but Poppy can knock you out. Gragas is still on the table, and I want to see AXIZ ban the Gragas here because if Evie picks it up, this might be an issue here. You can just cask everybody right out, and Lamb's Respite becomes utterly useless.
Yeah, I was about to say, my first gut instinct when you see a Kindred is Lee Sin and Gragas as the immediate answer, because you can just get someone the hell out of Lamb's Respite. So, I want to see that Gragas. I do completely agree with you on that one. Instead, Yaharong is going to lose access to the Ahri, which, like, I'm not a fan of, but also to a degree, Ebby, I don't want to see Ebby on Gragas. I want to see him on a carry. I want to see him on something like a Camille, or something along those lines. And DFM, well, just in case the Lulu was a solo laner, they're not going to let the Nautilus go into Dicey's hands.
That's fair. Dicey's only roly plate tanks up to this point. 3 games of Leona, 1 Braum, 1 Nautilus here. So they've banned the Leona and the Nautilus. I mean, the Braum could still work for this composition. Like we said, it's just all about protecting this Jinx, all about enabling this Jinx. And I wonder if they're intentionally pushing it that way because they might have some sort of plan to punish this Braum pickup if we do see it come through. And hello?
Okay. AXIZ have decided to lock in the Void. So it's a straight up Void. Okay, so from what we're hearing, it looks like AXIZ just didn't lock in time or something along those lines. We'll hopefully find out more. But you were saying about the Braum, I would adore Braum here because he is the front line that you need to buy time. Because when the Thresh tries to go forward or the Poppy tries to go forward, who is going to stand in the way? Braum, that bloody annoying shield, which is impossible to get through. And if you do somehow get close to the Jinx, Glacial Fissure, that's a knock-up. Winter's Bite, that's an immediate stun because Jinx has the attack speed of a damn railgun. And there's no getting on top of it. I get the Braum here would be just perfect, I think, for AXIZ's composition.
Yep, and like we said, completely viable here. I'm actually a little bit puzzled, and since we've got the time, I want to talk about this Ahri ban coming up from AXIZ here. I am wondering if it's maybe something that Yaharong has been practicing in scrims or maybe in solo queue because Yaharong has not pulled out the Ahri currently. Renekton, Victor, Veigar, that's what Yaharong's been playing. And if anything, part of me is like, is AXIZ batting this to make sure Megumin doesn't pick it up? Because the REs from Megumin has not looked good whatsoever. I mean, that's what happens in solo queue. Obviously, shouldn't be the case here, but I just don't think the RE's the right... It's going to be the big pick here for the side of Yahorong. It's not... RE as she stands right now is kind of a mage, kind of assassin, but not really a full assassin. I don't think you're going to be able to assassinate the Jinx, much less through a Kindred, through a Lulu.
Yeah, I feel like it might just be probably RE. Everyone's playing a little bit of RE right now, so maybe it's a bit of a generic. We don't really think Ebby's going to lock in Gragas, so we're not too concerned about it. Because to a degree, you've already got Poppy. If you're really concerned about dealing with Lamb's Respite, the hammer, I think, is... Yep. Yeah, it takes some time to charge, but it's a better way to do it, because not only do they get displaced, that they're not in the fight anymore at all. So I would just prefer you don't need that one. It could also be matchup. Megamin, if you look at Megamin's champion pool from this and last, the Ahri would cause a few problems, like the Ryze, TF is already off the table there, so is Ryze actually. But he hasn't got a lot of champions left that he's played this split. He's played Vex. Like, I don't want to see Vex of a protect composition at all. That sounds awful.
I mean, we did get to... AXIZ actually pulled out the Vex Poppy combo back in game 1 against the Hawks, and I think together it worked out because there's nobody who could dive past both of them. If you're picking the Vex as a protecting tool for the Jinx, I could kind of see it. Agree with you though. Not a huge fan of it because I much more prefer to see Vexes be very aggressive, diving in. I think if you want a mage here, if you want damage coming through from the mid lane, it's just, you know, sort of a bit of insurance for this Jinx here. The likes of a Veigar might not be a bad idea, just to give you space. My only problem with what AXIZ have drafted so far though is that they have no early game whatsoever yet. Kindred does struggle a little bit in the early game, likewise with Jinx, Lulu, not the strongest laning here, and I'm going to assume that they're more than likely to sack Yellow Yoshi's lane as well early, either putting him on some sort of tank or utility champion, a support of some sort. And if that's the case, again, you're not going to have that. So if that's the case, then you probably want something at least in the mid lane, maybe a Syndra or something, just to act as a bridge so that you've got at least one lane you can play through and you're not giving everything up to DFM.
Yeah, I think again, I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to say that Yoshi is going to be in the hands of the Lulu. It just fits for what they're doing, and for how we know they like to play. But then the question is, yeah, what do you think? I think you're right. I think it's Syndra, like, because he's pretty. Hey, you don't even have to blind the Syndra because you can just lock in your Braum here or build the Yona, just whatever basically form of engage, because you need engage somewhere. Lock it in here, and then decide what do we want at the end. I'm trying to think of other. You could even just Orianna it. Like, I know she hasn't been that popular, but you could just slap in Orianna and she'll fit. She fits with the team fight. She fits with protecting the Jinx. She can enhance the Jinx with the shield. Like, I don't know. My gut instinct is give Megumin and Orianna and just give Dicey his Braum. And
sure,
you don't do a lot early, but if you get to 30 minutes, who the hell is killing Sangshu? Because it ain't gonna be Unicorn.
Yeah, that's all the big question right now, right? Like, Aphelios usually handshakes with Jinx, but you're not picking the Aphelios to match the Jinx in terms of, you know, 1v1ing or the 280 carries fighting off. You pick the Aphelios because of the Moonlight Vigil, the ability for him to technically engage and actually, with the right guns, maybe match what a Jinx can do, though more burst than sustained damage like the Jinx tends to run in a lot of these team fights. And Orianna, like you said, I think it would be a better pick compositionally, but it still runs the same problem where you have no early control in your lane whatsoever. You don't really have great shove either. Other options, you know, Victor still runs the same early game. Maybe Seraphine. Seraphine's got great wave clear. She can hold. You're choking me off, but it's a really good pairing actually with Kindred specifically too, because Kindred likes lanes that can assist, and when you've got multiple supports as well, it's like a ranged Olaf sort of deal where, you know, you can skirmish really well when you've got that support to back you up, and that's ideally what you want to see. So I know Seraphine sounds kind of wild, but I'm actually liking it the more I think about it.
The reason I laugh is because I play mid Seraphine. It's great
perfect,
fun.
Yeah. You know about it then, Secret Tank.
I love it, because what you do is you lock it in against any AD champion, Yone, Yasuo, Zed, Talon, the stuff that decides I'm going to have 500 APM and just all in you every 30 seconds. And then you just make sure that you have your like whenever they engage you, you just press W and you get the double shield, and they can't hurt you. And you're like, okay, cool. I'll see you in 30 minutes. Which is always great fun. There is going to be a bit more of a delay, guys, unfortunately. So we are going to go to a short break. But when we come back, champion select for game of the week between AXIZ and DFM will resume.
If you can't beat them at chess, go play checkers. That is a fantastic statement that I have to harken back to as we return to the analyst desk while we are waiting for this draft issue to resolve itself. And obviously we've got phase 1 already through. We had plenty of speculation as to what could come out in the second phase. I know you're loving the idea of the Braum, but I mean, we could talk for years about what could be picked. Is this, I want to say, RMC, is this living up to your expectations? Is checkers being sufficiently played by AXIZ?
So far, kind of. It's developing in the direction. I don't know if they're playing checkers yet till we see the final bits, but I do like what I see so far. That's it. Play the Sangshu, and they've done that so far.
It interests me a lot. The Kindred is not a traditional sort of play towards your carry. It is effectively it performs that function though with the Lamb's Respite, because if Swamp and Sangchu are staying close together, then obviously dropping that ultimate means that both of them are protected at least for a while. And if you go for the likes of that Seraphine that was talked about before the break, then during that time you've got an opportunity to kind of throw some panic healing onto your carries before they come out of the Lamb's Respite and are fair game to be taken down again.
There was a while ago, I don't know if you guys remember it, there was basically a meta dominated by, it was back when Sona was a bot laner, before Seraphine's existence, where it was Taric and you paired that up with Kindred. So you basically had, I think it was like a total of 5 seconds where you just didn't die. Now, I don't know if Dicey plays Taric. All I'm going to say is that if he does, then you have got 2 unkillable marksmen, and you just throw Mega Min on something, again, nice AP damage that forces some threats.
I've got it, Midnight. I've got it. Okay, here's the angle. Last 2 picks, Taric, Kale. Maximum immunity.
Oh! That's disgusting. Okay, but then the obvious question is, what does AXIZ do for the first 30 minutes of the game? Nothing, because their comp doesn't do a damn thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just chill. It's all good. It's all good. We scale.
So you're going to sacrifice 30 minutes of the game for what is that? 8 seconds of invulnerability.
Well, you get that a little bit sooner. You just use you use the immunities as insurance to get to that later stage of the game. And then when you get there, I mean, right, it like level 16 Kale just wins, right? That's what I've been told.
Kind of, sure.
If she can get there. Now, I recall back. I can't remember. It was at Worlds, and there was a Kale. I think it might have been on the Shy, and he got immediately destroyed. Did like 26 damage in a crucial team fight, and they lost.
Yep, Shy.
Draft seems to be ready, so I'm going to send you guys back away. Enough of my face for the time being. Take it back away. Let's get it.
Well, let's find out. Well, we do have to... So we're going back a little bit. Okay. Nothing is going to change until it comes to the pick percentage. So nothing changes here. The bans, I would expect to remain the exact same. And again, we're still in that limbo of where is AXIZ putting all of their pieces on the board? Because we're still just not sure of that yet. And that's kind of going to be stressful for DFM. Where is that Lulu going? Is it going to Dicey? Is it going to go to Yoshi? Is Mega Man going to pick it up? Because, well, why the hell not at this point?
Yeah, and because of the way AXIZ plays as well, you're never quite sure. Is it mid? Is it top? Is it really what it looks like? And for DFM here, we didn't touch too much on their draft, but it's incredibly standard at this point. You've got a Poppy, you've got an Aphelios, you've got a Thresh. Right now, it's looking pretty defensive on their end as well. And they too are lacking a little bit of engage to come through. And normally, with an Aphelios, that's not an issue. Aphelios can be your engage as well, Moonlight Vigil into Gravitum, but specifically... see what? Okay, is it top? Is it support? Lulu
Who is
could be
getting
mid.
this
It could be
Rakan?
support. This is what I'm talking about, the chat from AXIZ here. You never really know until you see everything, and DFM has to pick blind into this.
And that's a pain in the ass because there are two champions there. Lulu Rakan could go anywhere. And I truly mean anywhere because I have a friend of mine who plays AP Rakan mid, and she will one-shot you before you realize she's pressed W. It is disgusting. And against something extremely immobile like a Zoe, there is a genuine world where Mega Min, if he knows how to play AP Rakan, takes it into the mid lane, you put the Lulu in bot, and you could literally just lock in like a Camille if Yoshi has that within his wheelhouse and just change things up. Or the Malphite's worked for them in the past, and it works brilliantly into the team fight double AD carry style that they're going for this game.
I've got really mixed feelings about this one here, Midnight. The Rakan and Malphite. So these are your engage buttons for AXIZ, and I actually don't feel like they need engage buttons with their composition. If anything, Rakan and Malphite won't be able to play within that kindred sphere that they were hoping to play around from the jungle situation. So now AXIZ a little bit split here. It's not all for Sangchu, it's mostly for Sangchu. And I look at what DFM have here too. There's that Gwen that you picked that Malphite into. Gwen is going to absolutely wreck Malphite's day. Now you don't have an answer to that split push. AXIZ are kind of forced to be proactive a little bit here. You can't just sit back and wait for that Jinx to scale. You've got to punish in the team fights or else watch as Ebby just absolutely shreds your side lanes.
Yeah, but to a degree, there are ways around it. And this is where, for a lot of the early game, eyes are on Swamp. I really want Swamp to be super aggressive. And when I say Swamp to be aggressive, I really should clarify. I want Swamp and Mega Min to be aggressive as a two-man roaming death squad. Mega Min, I feel like, is going to have garbage CS, and he's going to have about 100 assists. Because you literally push the lane, and it's like that old that strat where you had, you know, Master Yi in the as your mid laner, basically. that weird funnel stuff.
Yeah.
Just follow Swamp wherever the hell he goes with Mega Min, sack your CS, let Swamp take the farm in mid, because, like, yeah, it's not as good, but it's still good. And then just hyper farm your Kindred, hyper farm your Jinx, and bully Ebby any moment you can.
Agree with you right there. Like, as Mega Man here, you pick the Lulu into Zoe. It's a non-interactive lane. You don't really have the range to interact with that Zoe, unfortunately. And Lulu normally wants to bully the lane. So if you can't bully the lane, go bully the jungler instead. And honestly, probably need it, because Poppy into Kindred is pretty good for the Poppy as long as you can get in range. Once you're in range of the Kindred can't actually hop away either. The Steadfast Presence not only stops engages, but it also stops people trying to get away, trying to flash away or skip away from you as well. So for DFM, you know, they can afford to play a little bit more aggressive in the early game, in the jungle play.
Whew, Swamp got me scared there for a moment. Thankfully, he knows what's up. I've seen way too many players. I've just seen way too many players, like, they know someone's behind them and they'll still walk up. And you're like, what are you doing, my gamer? That's not what you should be doing. I looked on the runes, nothing too out of the ordinary here. I'm pretty sure, I know some people say that Electrocute's really good on Zoe, but I like Harry. Just really, especially because, as you said, non-interactive lane, you just need to try and get damage down onto Mega Man if you're even allowed to. So, well, good luck. Good luck in that one, Yaharol.
Yeah, it's just more consistent poke as well for the Zoe. If you're going the Electrocute, a lot of times you do have to land your skill shots, whereas now Yaharong doesn't need to land skill shots against the Lulu. So it's much more comfortable, much safer here. Now, Midnight, this is the match of the week for a reason. And the reason is largely actually around AXIZ more than the fact that it's DFM. And it's because AXIZ plays very interesting strategies, and it's usually in the early game. So I'm going to be particularly watching for Swamp here to see what Swamp can do. Because I think if they just kind of play really passive for the most part, yes, it favors the Jinx scaling and the Kindred scaling, but I don't think that playing standard or passive into DFM is ever a good idea.
Well, it might not be allowed to, as Harp, never mind. Harp needs to go to Specsavers, get his eyes tested up real quickly. Misses the first hook, which, like, he needed to hit that on Dicey, but, like, to a degree, Sangchung does have cleanse as well, so I like the idea. Unfortunate nothing came. But I wonder where Swamp's gonna find that opening, right? Because bot lane he doesn't really want to do, because like if you mess up, Sangchong and Dicey just fall really, really far behind. You can try kill Yaharong in mid, but I feel like Zoe's never gonna walk up close enough to the side where you're going to be able to get the kill, even on the back of Whimsy giving you that little bit of extra speed bonus. And Dicey, yeah, doing a good job making sure Sangchong safe. And I wanted him to be aggressive, but again, where do you play aggressive this game?
Look for skirmishes, contest the objectives, go into the jungle. Kindred's really good at actually sneaking in and stealing stuff in the jungle as well, especially wherever the Marks is. Now, Mark did spawn a bot side, but Steel first one on the move there.
Yeah, and Swamp is just not even going to try and contest it there. Going to go top side, and I just hope for the Mark to respawn. Like, it should be able to get there, but Steel's posturing like he wants to dive, and instead he's going to find Swamp, and yeah, neither of these guys can do anything. It's very passive, very fun, and then you look topside, and you feel nothing but pain for Yoshi, because he's nearly 20 CS down, and we're not even 4 minutes into a game of League of Legends.
And I repeat, Yellow Yoshi picked the Malphite after he saw the Gwen, right? This was a team decision. We're sacking Yellow Yoshi once again here, and this time it's not on a support. There's no support items to fake an income here. You've got to farm or fall behind. So maybe you can look topside. Look for Ebby to try and punish a little bit, with this Kindred, with this Malphite. Especially at 6, there is that small window of opportunity where Malphite can burst out the Gwen there. Not to 0, but any sort of gank assist would be maybe enough to kill them, especially before the Riftmaker complete.
Like, to a degree, yes, but there's also one saving grace for the fact that it is the Malphite locked in, and it's why Yoshi, while he probably isn't having a good time this game, he's not going to be completely miserable. And that's because it doesn't matter if your Malphite is 100 CS down or the fact that they're 0-10. If he hits the ultimate, that's his job done. And that's kind of why the Malphite is one of these lock-ins that you can just, even if it is a garbage matchup, it technically works. And I want Swamp to go topside. Why force something onto Ebby? He's level 5 with no mana, and he is really pushed up. You might be able to force something out of him. Instead, Swamp looks happy to farm, and I think their intention is just try and get to as late game as possible. But Sangchong is taking an absolute hammering in this bot lane because there's no pressure.
Yeah, that's Cleanse and Exhaust now burn the bot side. There's no more combat summoners.
Oh,
yeah,
it's tanking up there. Nice and easy.
Oh, warm.
Nah, easy clap, easy clap.
I'm sorry. I did watch the first 2 games of the day, and I saw way too many way too many turret shots taken by supporters there. So, yeah, Harp had me worried, but you're right. DFM a little bit cleaner here. And all of this, again, it's being enabled by really good vision, by wards. They know exactly at all times where Kindred is. And so when they land this sort of poke, they know they can go in. Like we said, Cleanse burnt, Exhaust burnt, and Sangchu, you're just low on health at this point. You need to back off. There's too big a minion wave here.
But that's the bit of greed. Sangchun does not want to give up that minion wave. And Harp getting close, but yeah, really good job tanking that one. And AXIZ have made it very clear that their entire game plan is based on getting to the late game.
Yep.
Sangchun has a cull to show that, and Swamp has just been trying to farm up a storm here. So I know we joked about not doing anything for the first 30 minutes of the game. I think that genuinely might become exactly what this matchup is.
Yeah, it's certainly looking that way, unfortunately, here. And it's worth noting as well, Sancho picks up this cull, not as first item, but second item. This is after they got dove in a 2v2. That was not a turret dive set up by the jungler or by teleports or by roams. That was a straight 2v2. And that is terrifying. And that's why we see the cull. Because Sangchu and Dicey have kind of said, okay, we're not going to win this. We're completely seeding this. And because you see that cull come through, DFM knows we have perma-prio bot side. Hey, Steel, you already win that 1v1 against Swamp. Have fun taking 3 dragons.
Dicey, that's ambitious, buddy. We just talked about how you are not allowed to do anything in this lane. You are 30 CS down between your AD carry and you. Harp, though, has overstayed his welcome a little bit there. Force a flash over the wall. Swamp will say, you can do that, well, so can I, and grab himself his team's first kill of the game. The one part is I don't think that was a mark.
Yeah, I don't believe so here. I don't think Utapon's marked either, but Utapon still has flash and heal here.
He has chakrams though. He does have chakrams, but level 6 is available. Force the flash there. Utapon running away for the life. Couple more hits, not able to get out of the way of the zap. And does get taken down, and DFM's power in the bot side is not clearly working out as well as they were hoping for.
Yeah, a little bit too overconfident from Utapon and Harp there, and Harp's sacrifice wasn't actually in vain because it bought Utapon a lot of space, it bought him time, and it zoned off Sanctuary from the wave. So that sacrifice, understandable, but Utapon, that one not so worth there. You don't get anything out of it. You end up dying, and that's allowed Sanctuary to catch back up. And keep in mind the cull as well. So despite being down, maybe almost 20 CS at this point, the cull is going to make up for some of that gold here. Sanctuary is not actually that far behind later on in the game. Yeah, only down really in the combat stats in lane right now.
Yeah, and to a degree, AXIZ aren't looking at the laning phase and thinking, oh boy, we need all the combat stats we can get our grubby little hands on. They're looking at the laning phase and thinking, oh boy, can we get the hell out of this, please, so we can get to where our composition is actually good. Mid and late game, team fighting. And so far, it's not bad. They're 1,000 gold down, give take. It's 10 minutes into the game, basically. And if they can... God, so many... Oh, they're only 1,000 gold down. But, if they can stay 1,000 gold down for the next 10 minutes in a composition that is so strong late, it's not ideal, but that's absolutely a win in my book.
Fair enough. If they can keep the gold lead to only 1k. You know what? I'll be more generous. I'll give them another 1,000 gold. If you can keep it within 2k gold in 10 minutes time, I think AXIZ are in a great position. But this is DFM. And the way DFM plays tends to be a little bit slower in the beginning of the game. They're not looking to make fancy plays. They don't look for very many cheese ganks or aggressive plays. They farm up and then they punish your mistakes. They will look to dominate you in the 1v1s, in the 2v2s here, and they're already building up their small leads. The bigger problem comes about when they start completing their first mythics. That's usually when we start to see DFM pop off, and that time is not far in the future. Utapon already with the Gale Force here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of aggressive play. Hello? What is this cheese from AXIZ?
Hello, Ebby. Ebby's bot side.
Ebby didn't see it.
No, he has no idea. No, wait. He smells something, though. He smells that something is so wrong. And unfortunately, Yoshi clearly does not have the nose for that because he has no idea that the DFM bot lane was coming up. Now, Ebby has to die here. A lovely quickening, a lovely grand engine as well. Exhaust is dropped as well. Dicey tanking it beautifully. AXIZ do it good. As Yarong is I mean, he comes down for a little bit of revenge, but unfortunately, a lone Zoe is not exactly a dangerous hunter.
No, I mean, if you did manage to get the max range paddle star, maybe you could have found Dicey, but that's about it. Now, it's important to note that, yes, Herald got traded. DFM did pick that up. But because AXIZ were there earlier, AXIZ should be able to get first start here. I don't think... Yeah, they didn't even drop Herald top, so it's free for sure.
Oh, Mega Min is in a little bit, not early flash, and is nice and safe. And Dicey is here. I don't think they'll be able to save the mid lane turret unless they can get the eye. In fact, no, they're fine. AXIZ, they trade turret for turret. They do lose a lot on their mid lane turret, which is far from ideal. But again, all things considering, it's not the end of the world. They're in that 1k gold deficit still.
For now. I mean, that mid lane turret, it's living on a hope and a prayer. And that's bait. If you think that turret's going to save you, it is not. Yaharong is going to take it in 2 autos here, and Yaharong doesn't even really care about the turret anyways. Zoe, you're poking down here. So DFM still got the 2-for-1 special there. Yeah, you lost first brick. Yeah, they fell behind a little bit in gold. But for AXIZ, they're not unhappy about the situation because they already said they want to get out their lanes. You know, laning to them, that's a 9-to-5 job. You're looking for the after party as soon as the job's done here. And now that turrets are starting to fall, they get to roam. Yellow Yoshi still has the unstoppable force, didn't use it topside. They are getting their mythics as well. Double Kraken Slayer. There is a small power spike, a window of opportunity for them if they want to take it. And guess what's coming up to kick that party off? Hextech in 5.
Yeah, Hextech hitting the rift here. And AXIZ, I genuinely think, should look for something here. Double Kraken, as you mentioned, and Uniform goes through and Swamp is a nuke, but Dicey has a 2-man follow through the 6-mega Death Rocket, puts Unipon down in the dirt. And Dicey will be the sacrificial, well, Peacock in this situation I feel like is more appropriate, but he doesn't care. With Unipon dead, DFM I don't think can contest this. No, there's no way Dicey gets out of this one alive. He's a dead man walking, but AXIZ should be on the dragon right now. They're not, but they should be. That's what this is. Because he doesn't get out. But that was 30 seconds.
Yeah, finally they're on it. Okay, yeah. So I was gonna say AXIZ didn't want to do Dragon because they used so many ultimates to secure that particular kill, and they weren't sure. But when you see all of DFM Jason, yeah, you go do it. And thankfully, they did actually turn to do it in time. Now, because they took so long, though, they are gonna lose prio on this mid lane a little bit. And if Utapon just wants to shove this in, it should be a free turret here for the side of DFM. And I think early game gold worth more than dragons.
Yeah. I mean, he has Infernum and Caliber, and Megamin's not holding this one. Hell, Steel's posturing for a dive. So so the mid lane tier 1 does fall. It is still the bot tier 1 in favor of AXIZ, but there we go. Close look at the gold. 2k gold. You talked about you're giving them 2,000 gold is about as far as you want AXIZ to fall behind, and they've hit that mark. But again, look at the items. You now even have your Moonstone in the hands of Megamin. So if this Jinx is allowed to get her second item, which I really hope is a Hurricane, because I've always preferred Hurricane over Rapid Fire Cannon on Jinx. The team fights are going to be insane because you've got healing, you've got shielding, you've got peel, you've almost got everything to make sure that Sanction and Swamp just never die.
In this particular matchup here, Midnight, I could excuse the Rapid Fire Cannon for Sangchu because the range just to make sure that you're never really at risk of getting hit by the Aphelios there, of being engaged. And you've got Swamp as well for backup. 3 of the kills went towards this Kindred here, which is really nice. Yes, we set up Sangchu as the big carry with this Jinx here, but let's not forget, Kindred is also a marksman here, and Kindred does also skill up infinitely-esque, though it's more range than actual damage here. And hey, if Swamp can get enough marks here, you start hitting the point where you outrange or match range with the Jinx. Granted, it's going to take a lot of kills, but we've already had 7 kills in 15 minutes here between the two teams, and I'm guessing it's only going to accelerate in pace.
Yeah, you'd hope so. But yeah, but I'm looking at the marks there. Swamp doesn't have a damn thing.
That is unfortunate.
He didn't get the first mark. None of the 3 kills he was able to grab on the bottom half of that had marks because they happened in the way that he didn't have time to mark and let the mark complete. So, yes, Swamp scales infinitely. Will he scale infinitely? I haven't got a damn clue because DFM clearly do not want to let him play this game as... Oh, Dicey, that's rude. That's...
They're just saying hi. It's only polite to say hi when you walk by, you know, to old friends.
I don't know about you, but slapping someone in the face with basically a cape made out of, like, I don't know, spare skin? Not my version of saying hi. I don't know how... Maybe Australia does things a little bit different than the rest of the world. I'm willing to accept that, but that's not how we do it down here, mate.
Okay, yeah. When you put it like that with old dead skin, I can see where you're coming from there. I never really thought of feathers quite that way, but...
Oh, aren't they?
Okay.
It's a bird's skin is a feather. Is that not how that works?
I feel like skins...
I'm an idiot. I spend my time yelling at video games, for God's sake. I haven't got a damn clue what's going on.
Oh, wait, no. This is important here, because when you eat, like, chicken, like, deep fried chicken, the skin is great. The skin is not feathers here, Midnight. We don't eat the feathers.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Then I don't know what you defined it as at that point. We're getting into some really weird territory. As oh, nice Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto Megamin. Unfortunately, doesn't mean a damn thing because the rest of AXIZ are protecting very nicely. And as a 4-man army, I mean, DFM have to be a little careful. Okay, 5-man army. Yoshi is interested to contest for this Herald.
Okay. They're looking for the engage here.
Swamp! Woo! He is hungry for violence today. Looking to dive forward there, Yaharong gets damage onto the tank that does not give a rat's about that. And AXIZ say, okay, cool, we'll see you guys in a little bit. Yaharong is playing a dangerous game, but AXIZ look very interested to take the Herald with the way they're positioning, or they have no idea where the exit to this ride is, and they're trying every exit that they can get their hands on.
Rather than the Herald here, AXIZ is looking for the fight because they want the kills here to accelerate their pace of the game. And they have, like we said, a power spike right now with the way their ultimates work. DFM don't have strong team fighting tools here. And Utapon is not running Kraken Slayer. He's with the Gale Force. Great for repositioning and single target burst damage, which is what they want to do with the pick. So you can see as soon as DFM don't get the engage, they kind of back out because they recognize that, hey, the counter pick is going to start coming back at this point.
Yeah, and DFM...
Oh,
well,
they
that's
can't get
cruel.
it.
AXIZ was really cheeky with securing it, but unfortunately they're not going to get much.
Oh,
Yoshi is going to get hurt, but like he's going to live, assuming he keeps running. Yoshi, good boy. He'll get out, and again, it doesn't matter if your Malphite's at half health, because he has ultimate. But it looks like, it timed out as well. That's unfortunate. AXIZ will lose the Herald. They'll lose the Dragon. They'll lose quite a lot here. Because unfortunately, Sangshun just fired that a spot too early, and Steel's not going to let his namesake happen against him.
Yeah, you know what? I was fine with AXIZ not getting the Herald after attempting that play, but losing the Dragon is a little bit unfortunate, especially when it is an Infernal map, Infernal Dragon stacking as well. That's always going to feel nice for DFM to pick up. Now, giving one Dragon up, that's okay. You're fine. You're still in the 2K mark. AXIZ still have the tools they want and need to make plays here. But if they keep trying and it doesn't pan out, I am getting a little bit worried. Ebby is starting to scale up, and Ebby already with the Rift Maker here. Yellow Yoshi doesn't have a mythic, so already this split pushing Gwen is going to start becoming a bit of an annoyance here for AXIZ.
Yeah, it puts Yoshi in the, I want to call it a survival game, but like in like typical survival games like your Hunger Games and stuff like that, it's usually a bit of a fair fight. You know, everyone has access to the same number of resources, and you can kind of utilize what does and doesn't work. Yoshi's basically playing with half a limb, just sawn off his body, because there's nothing he can really do in the matchup, and he hasn't even been able to put a mythic together. So he just has to play the most annoying survival game. But if he pulls it off, if he only loses like the tier 1, I think that's completely acceptable. Because when you come to the team fights, if you get that 2, 3, 4 man ultimate, you've paid your dues.
It becomes a bit of a tug of war between the two teams here, and it's about timing. It's about wave manipulation on the side here, like you kind of alluded to there. And the longer the lanes get, of course, it partially favors the side of AXIZ in that if you set up your waves right, you buy yourself a little bit more time. But likewise, the longer the lanes get as well, the more space Ebby has to play, and Ebby will continue to scale up, being that monstrosity throughout this game as well. So for now, DFM are the ones on the push. TP is available for Ebby, and DFM right now, they don't want to force a play, they want to buy time.
Yeah, but AXIZ clearly not agreeing with that mentality there. Swamp, I love how aggro he's playing, because in his back pocket, he has Lamb's Respite. And in his back pocket, he has the rest of his team moments away. So it looks ballsy. It looks like, if that goes wrong, everything goes disastrous for AXIZ. But the answer is actually no. If it goes badly for AXIZ, then they have reinforcements. But DFM, Steel, I kind of respect that from Steel, though. Because, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're a poppy.
Yeah. Everything you said about Swamp kind of applies to Steel as well, right? He had the rest of the team in his back pocket as well. He's got that Dark Passage from Harp if everything goes to absolute crap there. So they're fine with it. And for DFM, without a major objective, there's no reason for them to fight anything, right? Like, AXIZ can't actually force them to group up and do that fight. Oh, Swamp.
He got his second mark.
Second mark. Okay, there we
go.
Swamp stacking. Yeah, but for AXIZ, they need to play around the objectives here, and unfortunately the last time didn't work out with the Herald. Dragon's coming up in 2 minutes, and that's going to be very, very key for AXIZ to see whether or not they can actually win a team fight or force DFM to fight. We saw last game, right, Sengoku versus Hawks, the way those Dragon fights go, if it runs long, it favors DFM. AXIZ needs it short and sweet.
Yeah, and it puts AXIZ in a way, like, part of me thinks in this sort of situation as AXIZ, could you, holds up, Sanction might be in trouble there, Dicey, well, he'll be fine. That was a lot of help, though. But what I was going to say is, in these situations, could AXIZ trade Infernal Dragon number 3 for DFM for a Baron and use that Baron to basically survive a couple minutes to get everyone to their third item, specifically Swamp and Sangshu?
It's possible, but I don't think it's the best trade necessarily for them. Rocket actually being used to check Baron, yeah, because there was no blue trinket coming through from DFM there. But for AXIZ, I think Dragon's more important here. Ideally, you want to pick that one up. You have a lot of Dragon burning potential here. And what you have to remember is that Baron is temporary. It's 3 minutes. Dragons are forever. And Infernal Soul, now that one really does a lot. It's like small diamond earrings compared to big diamond ring. You really want that Infernal Soul.
Oh, I'm sorry, that comparison in my head is, I've never heard someone describe the difference between Baron and Dragon so concisely with such an elaborate metaphor, but I do love it. And clearly AXIZ agree, because they are all on the bottom side of the map here. They are prepping for what they do best. Front to back, keep Sanction and Swamp alive. Megamin, buff someone up to all hell, Dicey CC them, and Yoshi rock. And in fact, DFM, do they just not care?
They don't want to fight this. Like we said, AXIZ are the ones looking to pick a fight right now, and DFM, they're just not feeling terribly comfortable. So, you know what? Just seed it, right? Like they took the second dragon already. They're not worried about Soul. Soul is a good 10-15 minutes away. And instead, you ask me, is AXIZ wants to trade? DFM wants to trade.
Yeah, they do know TPs are coming through now. AXIZ are rallying the troops. 6,000 health. DFM, they look like they want to fight as well. They have caught out Swamp. Will Yaharon get enough damage down close, but not enough? But that is 2 ultimates burnt. That is the Wild Growth as well as the Lamb's Respite down. DFM are now going to start picking apart as Yoshi is forced to use Unstoppable Force. AXIZ, they're so afraid for a fight because they don't think they can take it, but can you even take a fight now? You haven't got 3 of your most important ultimates. All you've got left is the quickness.
Well, they have the rocket as well here, and they've got the range to try and get the poke for now.
Oh god, Swamp's being caught out. Swamp's gonna die, but they do die both the roll. AXIZ are rallying around their carries. They might have enough damage now. They will back away as the DFM have got the Baron still. They are not interested in letting that one go. I don't know if AXIZ knows Swamp is getting close, but Swamp's going to get nuked down. Ebby says thank you very much as they dive into the back line there. Sanction is charging forwards. DFM dives into the back. Dicey doesn't get much. He's claiming the ball, but Sanction is still up. He's gotten the resets. He's pretty happy about it all. But it just does not matter when there is no one to protect the Jinx. The Jinx will die.
Midnight, I don't think DFM expected it to be quite so successful as well. This is one of those situations where, like we saw in the last game, sometimes you want to burn Flash instead of the ultimate. Yellow Yoshi burning Unstoppable Force. You're right, there's no risk. DFM get free Baron, and the fact that AXIZ still chose to stick around really came back to bite them here. And there's just no good access to this Baron pit. They don't have vision, whereas DFM, they've got vision. They left Utapon alone to tank it for a while because they could afford to. And now, AXIZ, Swamp already burnt everything trying to survive. You've got to walk in the front, but you have no tools left to front to back.
Yeah, and now Eddie comes in from the flank. AXIZ have no choice but to fully commit into there. And unfortunately, there's just not enough front line to keep the Jinx safe once it's too late. And that's...
Yeah.
That is a heartbreaker now. 6,000 gold is the break mark here. But part of me still thinks it's not the end of the world because your Jinx has finally hit 3 items. You are in a brilliant position to deal with most of DFM if your front line stays alive, assuming you're allowed to kill Ebby, because I look down the lineup and I see the cardinal sin we've been talking about. Where is the healing cut?
True. And in this particular game, yeah, it is potentially an issue. I do think just the straight damage, though, right now that Utapon has is a far bigger issue. Look at that. What healing cut? You don't need healing cut when you can just absolutely do that. I.e. Collector, Gale Force right now. And this is DFM in a nutshell. We turn on in the mid game, we take one objective, and we threaten to end the game.
Run! Okay, AXIZ, I was feeling confident for AXIZ for a little bit here. And then Utapon told me and everyone else to sit down, shut up, and worship DFM. Which, like, to a degree, fair. The Nexus turrets are not going to last long here. AXIZ, they've got one do-or-die fight, but they want to wait for one more member. But I'm sorry, buddy, you need 10 seconds, and that's not going to happen to dive into the backline there. It just doesn't matter, because look at Sanction. He's not allowed to participate in the fight. And, well, apparently he's not even allowed to walk the hell back into base, as DFM will crush AXIZ beneath their boot, saying, you needed to get to late game. That ain't happening, buddy.
One big team fight, Midnight. That was all we really got to see, was one big team fight. And it was Baron. And this is why DFM look untouchable right now. It's not just that they're good in every role. It's not just that they're good at macro. It's that they know how to close games out from a lead. And they feel like they're always in a lead. The moment they get, 2K, 3K gold advantage, the game's effectively over. We just haven't seen it yet, but it's already done.
Yeah, they're already dead, and AXIZ just did not realize how close they were to the hole behind them, and why that hole was 6 feet deep. They weren't able to work that part out until Baron showed them, hey, that hole, it's for you. Good luck. But from DFM, what a dominating performance there. Like, they dealt with the cheese of AXIZ, and they dealt with it really, really well. They said, okay, you just want to get to late game, you want to get your 2 hyper carries there. No. We don't do that here.
Well, Midnight, I feel like there's more to say, but I do think we should bring Brackish on as well to say it, because, I believe sharing is caring, and sometimes when you're feeling this disappointed, you want to share the disappointment as well.
Well, we'll go to a short break, and when we come back, we'll have the desk where we can go over the match of the week.
Welcome back, everybody. And I feel like the statement, at least for the end of that game, is just you. Like, imagine I'm Utapon. It's just, omae wa mo shinderu. Like, right at the end, Swamp had the Lamb's Respite. He just wasn't expecting it. Like, he was dead before he could press that button. Like, Utapon knew his damage breakpoints just like that, and he was gone in an instant. And gone in an instant is almost how I would put down AXIZ's game. Like, it looked really good for them, and then Swamp gets caught, Lamb's Respite, Wild Growth get burned, Yoshi gets caught, Unstoppable Force gets burned, and then they don't concede the Baron. They actually try and fight for it.
Death by 1,000 cuts. That's what, especially the end of it, starts, because it's just little things that go wrong. Oh god, we burnt too much. And then you're fighting in this team fight with about 3 of your crucial ultimates here. How Quickening was used before as well. So you've basically got nothing in the tank, yet you're still deciding to try and drive on the motorway. Get the hell off the motorway, reset. And unfortunately, AXIZ, instead of trying to do any sort of resetting, they commit to a fight that is lost before it begins. And like, no matter how well you play this fight, you just have not got the resources you need to win the game.
And make no mistake here, it's not as if AXIZ had walked away, they would still have been in a really bad spot giving that Baron over. But at least the game would have continued. It's, do you want to die now or do you want to die later? And I would still argue die later, because there is a chance to come back. We saw the draft come through and how respectful Detonation FocusMe was of the draft from AXIZ there. They refused to team fight them in the mid game. Constantly, you know, they were trying to bait out the unstoppable force. They were looking for picks. They found it on Swamp, but they would not actually fight you. And to me, that was kind of the cheese we were hoping to see from AXIZ. It's not the support cheese, but it's a different type of all in your bot lane, double enchanter style cheese. And unfortunately, we just never quite got to see it in its mature form there. Signs of it, but not the full form of it.
The cheddar was not quite ready, I am afraid. And sorry, you set me up way too well for that.
Yes.
And much as we know, of course, that DFM, I mean, 6-0, like almost certain. Well, let's not curse, but highly likely to just 7-0.
Oh, we can curse them. It doesn't matter.
Okay, well then, highly
we
likely
can't curse them.
to 7-0 the first round robin. And we said the cheese would be the angle that AXIZ could take, and DFM just, were so respectful of it. They only took the fight after they got that catch, got those 3 crucial ultimates, and then effectively, like, shot calling checked AXIZ. And unfortunately, that was a bar slightly too high. AXIZ fell for it, and fell for it.
Like, but that's kind of why you need to love DFM, right? This is a team that, even in a situation where they're expected to win, even in a situation where they've got all of their pieces on the board and it's looking brilliant, they're not going to just dive headfirst into a situation where they're not comfortable. And I think part of that might just be DFM's global, like, international experience, right? We all hear the great stories of teams that, when they go to Worlds, even teams that leave 0-6 from Worlds, are like, we've actually learned a stupid amount from just the amount we got to scrim and the games themselves. And so DFM, with a roster that, again, hasn't changed much. There are some changes, but, like, I'm pretty sure the coaching staff doesn't get much variation, and the heart of the team doesn't seem to change much. They can carry this lesson on, teach the new guys the same lessons, and it's why they're one of the most dominant teams the LJL gets to see, and it's why they get another win under their belt today.
The core of DFM, so what would that be? Evie, Steel, Utapon, and Kazu. That's that is basically the Aria was a big part of it, so was Gang, but they have replaced them with players who perhaps not of the exact same caliber, but still very, very strong regardless. And completely shows in the dominance that we have seen from them so far in the split.
Now, unfortunately, so far, nobody's really been able to challenge them. We held out for Sengoku as being, one of the higher execution teams. The second, looking like potentially a second place team right now, didn't hold out. AXIZ with the cheese didn't hold out. There's one more team who have yet to play Detonation FocusMe.
Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say, let's look towards the last game of the first round robin, coming on Friday the 25th. Starting off with AXIZ versus Sengoku at 9 UTC, followed up by V3 versus the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. It is the battle of the bottom. Can the Hawks get themselves a game out before we hit that?
Joe, whoa!
I'm trying to talk about. Oh, producers! I get trolled by them all the time. Never mind. But yes, battle of the bottom.
It was a vision check.
It was a failed vibe check, is what that was.
We'll see who comes out of the round robin, first round robin, with that unfortunate 0-7 scoreline. Then the final team to stand up against DFM. Burning Core currently sat in the top 4. I think they're at third currently, if I'm not terribly mistaken.
They're second tied with Sengoku right now.
Yes, both 6-1.
Burning Core, yeah.
Yeah. So, the last chance for DFM to take an L before the end of this round robin. Quick one, and do we think that it is like what's the percentages? Percentages for each of you.
How much copium you got? Because we already said Sengoku's execution didn't work, AXIZ cheese didn't work, but what if we combine the two? Burning Core has high level of execution, and they've got some interesting cheese. Again, we won't talk about Ray Farkey and Flawless doing weird things, but Ray Farkey alone is cheese. So, how much copium you got?
Let it say it in your percentages. Go on. Are we talking 60-40, 70-30? How likely do you think? How good are Burning Core's chances?
I said AXIZ had a non-zero chance. I'm gonna say I will double AXIZ's chances with Burning Core.
You have so much more faith in Burning Core than I do. I'm gonna be. I think like 10-15. Honestly, Burning Core looks great. Don't get me wrong. Burning Core looks
DFM.
Phenomenal. Do I think that they can stand up to DFM? No, not a chance in hell.
You're still giving them 10-15%.
I'm still giving them 10-15 because Ray Farkey, like, all hail. Ray Farkey. If Ray Farkey gets his Darius, I'm really confident. Will Ray Farkey get his Darius? No, he should not be getting his Darius. DFM better ban that crap because that's how you. Just don't let him play aggro. You should be fine. But I've said should many times this broadcast, and half the time that doesn't work out. So, you know.
Should is the word of plausible deniability, Midnight. It's all good. And then we round out the first round robin with the final game, Crest Gaming Act versus Rascal Jester. And as was being said after their game today, Rascal Jesters are at 3-3. Like, obviously, yeah. we didn't expect SoftBank Hawks to do as badly as they did, and we certainly didn't expect Rascal Jesters to be sat middle of the pack, kind of floundering at the moment.
Yeah, and I think calling them floundering is doing them a little bit of a disservice. I do think Burning Core and Sengoku have stepped up massively this split, especially considering what we saw of them last split. So, for Rascal Jesters versus Crest, this is going to be doubly interesting because they are now sitting tied at 3-3 here. So a chance for Crest, to restore faith in their fans. I believe, is it Middlecott and Hina are Crest Gaming actor fans, or has Hina given up on Crest Gaming?
No,
I'm not quite sure.
Middlecott, when we were doing setup today, Middlecott was very annoyed because Hina has now apparently converted to be a Burning Core fan.
Okay. So Middlecott, here's a chance for your team to, prop up there. And as for Rascal Jesters, this is a statement game. If they lose the game against Crest Gaming Act here, they're in freefall at this point, and we don't actually know where they're going to go. If they can lose to them, hey, maybe they lose to AXIZ, maybe they lose to Hawks Gaming, maybe lose. Okay, no, I've gone too far. But at that point, they're near the bottom at that point. So
look at the stats.
For them, a statement game as well.
CGA are on a 2-win streak. Rascal Jesters are on a 2-loss streak. You're saying that they'd be in free fall. Funnily enough, they'd be at 3-4 if they lost.
Oh, God.
That was actually pretty good.
I sometimes wish the internet had the ability to just reach the hand through the monitor.
Don't we just try and
yeah.
Actually, no, let's not do that.
Yeah,
Graphic
it was
content
well played,
warning.
but God damn it.
That is exactly the response I try to get out of people. Okay. Any final thoughts, gents, before we close out the stream for the day? Like, obviously, 4 potentially highly impactful games going on to the second and third round robins.
I've got a controversial take.
Do it!
Go for it.
Which is, at some point this split, Hawks will beat someone at like an hour. I don't care who it is, but they will take the game to an hour and they will win. You can clip this now. It's what,
Somebody
the 24 for the second?
Hold this man to it. Hold him to
Clip
it.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
24 for the second. I'm saying that Hawks will go over an hour and win in this first split of 2022.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go the opposite way here because the SoftBank Hawks lose when they go long. So if anything, I'm gonna say they're gonna win next week against V3, and it's gonna be under an hour. It's gonna be, and it won't be a long game. I think it'll be below their average game time against V3 here next week. And I say it's a hot take, but right now it's more of a prayer because I have very little confidence in the Hawks after the way they've been performing up to this point.
It's kind of difficult to have faith, yeah, with the performance being as bad as it is, with the players that they have. Okay, well, that seems like a good old chunk of content. I don't know about you, but I think that's a decent spot to round off the show. So I have been Brackish Brit. I have been your host and corraller of casters. I've been joined for the latter half of the day by the marvelous Midnight and RMC. Thank you very much for coming along for the ride, guys. We will see you next time on Friday.
Beat the drums throughout